Thank you for joining us this morning and making time to come and learn a little bit more about what we need to do in businesses and also to get a perspective on what Nedbank does in the small business piece. I'm going to talk about Nedbank Small Business Services in the branch network, what we do. I'm going to cover a few areas there. In the areas I'm going to cover is going to be what our focus areas are, what the segments are, why businesses fail, what are the challenges and constraints, and also our philosophy, and then to close, just a general wrap-up on what we do in the branch network with small business services. Okay, so without any further delay, let me talk on what Nedbank Small Business Services does in the branch network. Okay, our focus area per the video you saw is we deal with businesses up to 7.5 million. We segment the market. We segment our small business market of 7.5 million turnover customers because there's various segments, and I'll tell you what segments those are. One of them is startup businesses. That's why I asked the question earlier. We look at customers on the startup aspect that have not yet started, as well as businesses that are younger than 2 years. And we'll also talk about what offering we've got in this specific segment. We also look after various franchises, Vodashop, Captain Dorigo's, to mention two. There's another one there, Roman's Pizza. We look after those franchises, and we do business with those customers. We also look after the professional segment. As you can see, doctors, accountants, and the various engineers, lawyers, we look after that segment in the small business arena as well. We also look after established businesses. Those are what we talk beyond 2 years. It's general servicing, retailing, manufacturing. We look after that market as well. Obviously, up to the 7.5 million, as I mentioned earlier. Now we're going to look at why businesses fail. And we're going to cover a few areas in terms of why businesses fail. And then at the end of that, I'm going to give you a perspective of how much of it is internal factors and external factors. So 34% of why businesses fail is purely down to poor management and financial activities within the business. And around financial activities, I'll cover that a little bit later on a different slide, so I won't go into detail now. It's quite a big number. Poor bookkeeping and recording. It also talks to the earlier, the previous slide. That's 12%. So you can see about 46%, 48% is on the financial piece. Sales and marketing is really critical in your companies because you as an entrepreneur, most of you will be the only person in the company, or you may have a switchboard, or you may have one salesperson. So basically, you run the finances, you run the marketing, you run the sales. And this is a key element as to why businesses fail as well. Even though it only looks like it's 11%, it's a key area. Staff problems. We all know, those of us that have got staff, it's challenging. You've got to keep them inspired. You've got to keep them happy with packages and what you pay them and what you expect out of them. Union problems. I think we all know the challenges through unions and those type of things. 6%, it's a big concern. Inflation and economic conditions. We're going into a higher inflation environment. Economically, things are still tough. Luckily, the rand is still strong, which is a real positive. Lack of competent management. It talks to the earlier slides that I showed you. It's really critical. So those previous slides I showed you, 82% of why businesses fail, and they often fail within the first 2-3 years of their business cycle. 82% is the internal factors around poor management, poor competence, sales and marketing. It's huge. And only 18% is external, which is the economic piece, for example. So it's really critical that when you're running your business, you look at all the aspects that I've just mentioned, and you understand how are you managing that. Because generally, we chase sales, we chase turnover. We look at our bank account, we say we've got 25,000 in, I've got 10,000 rent to pay, 5,000 salaries, I'm okay, and you think you're okay, but people don't manage their business, and that's some of the things that Thane will touch on later. Okay, what are the challenges that all entrepreneurs face when either they're starting up a business or they're currently in business? Is what are the access to markets? In other words, what opportunities are there? How do I fund the business, or how do I fund my idea? What business do I get involved in? What is the competition? Have you done homework on the competition? How do I source product? How do I get services? That type of stuff. Financial acumen talks to the various slides I showed before. A lot of people may have been in the corporate environment. They now go into a self-employed environment, be it willingly or because they just have to get a business up and running, but they don't have the financial acumen piece. And we do support that as well, and we'll talk to that a little bit later. Business formalization, that's creating closed corporations or PDY limiteds. I know the act has changed, but we won't get into that. But throughout our branch network, I'll also touch on it later, we can register the companies on your behalf, and I'll touch on that a little bit later as well. Access to support services and growth partners. We've got arrangements and associations with various partners, and we'll also talk to that a little bit later in terms of what we can do for the businessman. Lack of collateral, that is critical. You've got a great idea, you believe in your idea, obviously. You can walk into Nedbank, hopefully. You table your plan with us, be it a small business plan, be it cash flow projections, and what competition you've looked at, what aspects, how have you investigated this business idea of yours. The bank has to be, and this is all banks, they have to be happy with your proposal that you can afford to service the debt that you need in order to fund this business, as an example. So we'll talk about that because there are obviously critical areas where the banks won't support you or financial institutions won't support you because of lack of collateral, and we'll talk about the opportunities on that aspect. Okay, what are the challenges with regards to people trying to set up a business, get a business off the ground? What are the obstacles to it? And crime and corruption, as you can see, that's news daily in South Africa, but it's a huge challenge. It's constraints. These are surveys that the bank has done through research companies. 40%, 7% as to why people struggle to get it set up in business because of crime and corruption. Fear of failure, that's a huge one. We are on TV today, so I may get edited. So I've been in the bank 30 years, and you always dream of trying to get into your own business, but it's easier said than done. So I know a lot of friends and bank colleagues that have got into business. Some of them have made it exceptionally well, others haven't, and they've come back into the banking environment. So we understand that people are scared to get involved in business because you potentially, whatever financial resources you've got, you're putting into that business, and if it doesn't succeed, it's a challenge. Electricity issues. I don't need to go into that. That's currently a topic being winter. Access to finance. I mentioned that earlier when we spoke about lack of collateral. How do I fund my idea? Inadequate skilled labor. The staff I employ, have they got the right skills to facilitate my business? Have they got the right service ethic? Have they got the right attitude? Because attitude is everything with staff. Labor regulations, 5%. We all know the restrictions around that.